Hey you MJ fans, thank you guys for checking out this video. In this video here I'm going to do basically a breakdown of the Michael Jackson hologram that was used at the 2014 Billboard Music Awards. Basically my interpretation of I think of what they used, what they did, what happened and whatnot, and who was used, and to basically to justify stuff that people are commenting on, saying, "Oh well, this didn't do that, or they should have did that," or kind of clear up some common questions that a lot of people have regarding like the dancing and whatnot. Um, so I suppose by now everybody knows who the tribute artist was that was used. It was a tribute artist by the name of Mr. Ernest Valentino. He's been he's worked with Michael Jackson professionally since around the Bad Tour, around '87. He might have met and worked for him in '86. But he goes back with MJ as far as '87 at least. He's the longest tribute artist to Michael Jackson. Everybody thinks of other people as being the best and the longest, and everybody has their opinion on who they prefer. But I prefer Mr. Valentino's performance because he's a fantastic performer, and he's a very good person. I've corresponded with him many times, and he's very genuine, very real. Uh, so I suppose whenever when he posted the video of that performance to his Facebook, it kind of gave it away, right? So anyhow, I made a bunch of notes here, so I'm going to be reading them basically, so I don't forget anything. So to make the distinction between the actual hologram and the artist being used, who I'm going to say is Mr. Valentino, you have to watch the performance and pick out key points in it. At 32 seconds, that first wave, and we hear MJ in his traditional woo, that that Michael Jackson high pitched woo, and then 38 seconds, he clicks the girl next to him into his performance, and then later we see the other dancer to the right of Ernest jump down. The face we see at the beginning is whatever the CGI people did from decades of MJ's images and Ernest's image himself. We know it was not MJ, obviously. But when we see that screen wave after he gets up and starts to walk at 59 seconds, Ernest's performance takes off right then. Before that, it's his hand gestures and such at the beginning, like he's sitting in his chair and he's just stuff. We see it from far though. That's the thing. Mr. Valentino's performance, his look and his performance starts for us as a whole package at 59 seconds. So what do we see happen in the hologram? Like I said, 32 seconds in, we see that wave start. And what I mean by wave, I mean like there's a wave that just goes through the background of the entire image, and we see that. 4 seconds later, he clicks the girl into his performance. 48 seconds in, the other guy becomes part of the performance and is no longer a background image. Kind of like the girl, MJ snaps his fingers and looks to the left at it on the floor. She was his background image part of the entire hologram until he brought her to life, so to speak. Let's see here. A lot of the moves done in the hologram, MJ did live. In the hologram, they have MJ go up on his toes and point to them. Mr. Valentino does that in his own performance when he performs. He does it whenever he feels like, when he wants to, and it's justifiable, and here's why. So, let's tackle the first issue. Pointing to his toes. Now, I always said that if you want to find out something about MJ, or what's going on, you can always look at one of MJ's videos, music videos. Well, I would hardly call them music videos, they're more like short films. There's always something to be revealed in every single video. If you look at 1 minute and 59 seconds, and 4 minutes and 3 seconds, and 4 minutes and 22 seconds into the Dirty Diana video, the first time MJ goes up on his toes and points to the floor with his right hand as his left is holding the mic, I'm thinking that he would have used both hands to point to his feet had he not been holding the mic. And the second time, he's playing off the guitar player Steve Stevens. Again, up on his toes a bit and points to the ground. But the real moment, 4 minutes and 22 seconds, he does the same thing again. And when MJ does that time, oh sorry, I shouldn't have quoted that. Sorry, I was confused. When MJ does it that time, when Mr. Valentino does it in his performance, it's like watching MJ do it in the Dirty Diana video. So for everyone saying that MJ never went up on his toes and pointed towards his feet, that is your first error. He did do that. And the second, after the moonwalk, he never did. Mr. Valentino chooses to point to his toes after the Billie Jean moonwalk when he does his own shows. MJ's probably did that at some point in his 35 plus years in the business. After all, he's the king of pop. He did whatever he wanted. Think about it, regardless. In the hologram, Mr. Valentino points to his toes at a separate time altogether away from the moonwalk, and that wouldn't be out of context at all. I mean, like I said, look at the 3 times MJ does it in the Dirty Diana video. So Ernest doing it in a hologram, or in his own MJ tribute show at the end of the moonwalk, that's his choice. But MJ did show clearly in the video that he went up on his toes and pointed to his feet. And again, whether it's at the end of Billie Jean or in the Dirty Diana video, regardless, he still did it. So I don't understand why people out there in the YouTube world keep saying MJ never pointed to his toes like that. Yes, he did. And it's quite obvious at 3 minutes in the hologram who the tribute artist was, because only Mr. Valentino does that. And then the next thing here I'm going to talk about is the famous kind of like head snap, and then this we call like the slide glide. At one part in Billie Jean Live and Jam, there's a certain way that MJ, when he comes up with his head to the point where it seems detached from his body. If you look at 2 minutes and 26 seconds in the hologram, they have MJ's head do that similar move, and only Ernest Valentino could pull that off. That's another giveaway as to who they use for the hologram. The best tribute artist out there. Right after that, he does what you might call slide gliding. MJ did that all the time. So Mr. Valentino was doing MJ's moves right there. And then we also see in the hologram, when he's doing basically his dancing, the circle stepping, where he's kind of just walking sideways on his toes, sliding. In the hologram at 2:46, they make MJ do the circle stepping on your toe spinning thing. Everyone thinks he never did that. Well, if you look at Billie Jean on the Jackson's Victory Tour in '84, Toronto '84 is a good example. He did that spinning thing there. It's on YouTube. Look at any '84 Jackson's Victory Tour performance of Billie Jean, and you will see MJ doing that walking in a circle thing. And that was also the last time I believe that MJ walked from the right side of the stage to the left. We know afterwards on he did it left to the right, like was done in the hologram. Other tribute artists moonwalk and spin the opposite way of MJ. MJ spins counterclockwise and generally holds his mic with his left hand, as his right hand is usually bandaged on 3 fingers: the pointing finger, the ring finger, and the pinky finger. Ernest Valentino is the only tribute artist to do that. And that kind of gets to me. It's like other artists, if you're claiming to be the best impersonator, like the best tribute artist out there, why do you not bandage your fingers like that? MJ doing that, it would be like MJ, not having an armband around one of his jackets that he would wear on stage. The armband that he would put on his jackets, it always represented something for him. You have to have the bandaged fingers. Like, it's just became. They say that MJ did that to cover up, his vitiligo, and but I think it was just kind of like a trademark, I guess. Either way, if you want to be the closest thing to MJ, bandage your right hand like MJ did, plain and simple. People coming along now will do it, but Ernest has been doing it since working with MJ since they met back when Bad was released. Ernest has been performing and working for MJ since the Bad era, 87, 88. He's the longest tribute artist. And then the moonwalk. The moonwalk. See, in the moonwalk, we're used to seeing the traditional moonwalk in the Billie Jean manner. The people who want the hologram artists, excuse me, to do the moonwalk, as that really was MJ's trademark move. I'm puzzled like a lot of people are when it comes to the moonwalk. Mr. Valentino's moonwalk is flawless. He executes it perfectly. But in the hologram, the stepping, at times, the timing is off at points, it seems. It's a short moonwalk, and it makes me and millions of other MJ fans wonder who did that moonwalk. It's like, whose face do we first see before 59 seconds? when we see that wave and boom, MJ turns his head towards the girl, I'm thinking they either got the moonwalk from another performer or Ernest did it himself. I don't know the answer to that. Only the people who did this project and whoever they told know. But it wasn't the best moonwalk. I mean, even MJ's moonwalks in the early days on the Jackson's Victory Tour were better than this one. And MJ wasn't the best at it. Some of these shows, they were long spaced, but he was just getting into the moonwalk as he debuted it on the Motown show in '83. Anyhow, regardless, if it wasn't Ernest, I will admit, for me, it wasn't his best moonwalk. Whether he had control, over maybe doing it a second time, or no, that's a wrap, just one time, that kind of thing, I don't know. But it could have been a little better in my opinion. But again, if you watch Mr. Valentino's Billie Jean performances on YouTube, you'll see that he executes the moonwalk flawlessly every single time he does it. It's perfect. Now, at the end part, now this is where the distinction between the hologram put together and then the artist's performance connects. We have there's a wavy glitter effect at the end. It's there. They probably want us to think it's for looks, but it really isn't for looks. It's the connection between the hologram image and Ernest's actual performance. Mr. Valentino, excuse me. 3:44. When he sits down, he blinks. That's clearly Mr. Valentino's face. It's no doubt in my mind. Watch his performances, his videos. That's Mr. Valentino's face at the end. 3:54. That closes back the performance and makes the hologram whole again. And for the hologram, all that Ernest put together at the end, MJ totally would have done all that stuff. I mean, think about it. Right before in the hologram, right before he sits down, all the moves that he does, like hand out and then he grabbing himself. Think about that. So for Mr. Valentino to do that in the hologram, MJ did that all the time. Like, I think he grabs himself about 3 or 4 times in the bad video and Human Nature and Beat It Live. Whatever he does there when he does Beat It. So for Mr. Valentino to be doing that, it's stuff that MJ would do live. And the pointing thing and the shoulders and the slide gliding, even putting his hand behind his head, that thing, and pointing to the crowd. I mean, MJ did that stuff live. Now, if you want to see MJ's moves summed up, I think if you want to see like MJ, what he could do with his body work, just watch the end of Jam from the 1993 Buenos Aires. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Is at the end of Jam from that show in 1993. That's where you can see MJ sum up his moves perfectly right there. He just does everything that MJ's known for: footwork, handwork, everything, just right there. So that's basically my breakdown of the hologram, of what was done in the hologram. I mean, I've questioned Mr. Valentino about the hologram, and he's not given me any information about the hologram. This is all my observations just from studying, looking at the hologram 5,000 times. I'm sure, easily. Mr. Valentino's stated that he simply is not allowed to comment on it, and that's fine. I learned from a different source on YouTube, somebody who has way more subscribers than me and has way more video views than me. He's the one who first leaked that it was Mr. Valentino, I believe. I always had a notion that it was Mr. Valentino, but I never really wanted to say it. But now it's been almost, that was, I believe, May 2014, the hologram. So here we are in March 2015. It's been almost a year, so I think speculation about who it is kind of out of the bag now. I mean, the person who claims to be the #1 Michael Jackson impersonator in the world does everything backwards of MJ. He moonwalks. If this is a stage, he moonwalks from here, going that way. Whereas we all know how MJ did it. MJ did it going from here to that way. and he bandaged his right hand, not his left hand. It's okay to say it, I suppose, if you're not right-handed, perhaps, and I still think you should still uh, do things the way that MJ did it. Don't do it the opposite way. But that's just my 2 cents. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of information about Mr. Valentino. Mr. Valentino has been to Neverland, and he was at Michael Jackson's last home, North Carolwood Drive in LA. In fact, Mr. Valentino was to meet with MJ a few days after June 25th, 2009, which we all know is one of the saddest days in history, the day that the king of pop, Michael Jackson, passed away. He was going to discuss working with MJ for the This Is It tour, but unfortunately that never happened. He's acted as a decoy for MJ on thousands of occasions. He's worked on the Bad Tour, Dangerous Tour, History Tour, and also did publicity work for Invincible. He has the same vocal coach, Seth Riggs. Ernest also sings live during most of his performances, which is something pretty much all impersonators don't do. They have worked with the same choreographers. At the Killer Thriller 2002 London show, MJ watched Ernest. Ernest was the main act. When it was done, MJ and Ernest hugged, and Ernest bowed to MJ before MJ went into his his record label speech. And at that show, he told the crowd to give it up for Mr. Valentino for an amazing performance. But at that point, he knew Ernest for over 15 years. This was just like, hey, how you doing, Michael? Oh, I'm glad I got to perform for you tonight. People think that this is the first time they met, and that's just not true at all. Ernest was chosen to be the main act for a reason, and MJ was going to be in attendance. They had a relationship that went back to 87 or even before. Ernest is a fantastic dancer, and they chose him for the Hologram for a reason. Like I've said, I've corresponded with Ernest many, many times, and I've asked him about the Hologram before, and he said he could not speak about it, and asked if I could really accept that, and that he was sorry. So obviously he's sincere, and he's not allowed to say, he's not allowed to comment on the Hologram, and I respect that, and I'd never pride him for more information other than what he's stated, that he cannot comment on the Hologram. But like I said, he recently posted the Hologram to his Facebook page, so I don't think he would have done that to give another artist credit when he's trying to be Michael's messenger here now. And I believe he is. He has his manners, his gestures, his looks, his voice. It's not an act. He's genuine. When you speak to him, when you listen to him, when you watch him, you can just tell that he's genuinely passionate and considerate, and he believes that he's here now to continue on Michael's message of love. Love is the answer. Love heals. Heal the world. We are the world. I believe that Mr. Valentino is the man here now that is carrying on Michael's message. I mean, we have to give Mr. Valentino credit. He does not get enough credit for what he does. What he does in his performance in the Hologram, or if he's performing in front of 25,000 fans in Russia, it don't matter. He's fantastic. And the biggest shame is he's never performed on American soil, and he was born in Florida. He's done work overseas. He's done promotional work, but hasn't performed, as MJ needed him for promo work for the tours and to act as a decoy, but not to perform. Ernest wasn't the guy who popped up with the wolf mask on during Thriller on the History Tour while MJ got ready for Beat It. The guy who came up with the mask on was a magician who had a similar build to MJ and was taught a few basic moves to fool the crowd. Ernest would never have done that. MJ would never have said do this. That would have been an insult to Ernest, and I believe MJ knew that. And his performance in the Hologram, in my opinion, was put together really well. His moves are very close to MJ's, but obviously nobody will ever have MJ's flair. But Ernest, I believe, is the closest thing out there to Michael right now. He talks like Michael. He knew the Jackson family, obviously. They went to the Billboard Music Awards to support their brother. They seen Ernest, and it was like looking at Michael, and this goes way back to the 80s. Not looking at Ernest for the first time in 2014 and being dazzled. Ernest was an extension of the Jackson family. When Michael passed, Ernest stated he dropped to his knees and cried for a week. His friend, his leader, his mentor wasn't here anymore. He immediately called the Jackson family and offered his deepest condolences to them. So that's how close he was to them. He was going to work on the This Is It tour, but sadly Michael passed before Ernest could have his meeting with him. Other artists who have had better success than Ernest and claim to be number one are ridiculous. If you were number one, why were you not chosen for the Hologram? That's probably a good question. They went with the person Michael knew and worked with the most, and that was Mr. Valentino. Yeah, I could go on forever about how much of a gentleman Mr. Valentino is. He looks like MJ. Sure, he's had some facial things done to enhance his looks. To look like MJ, you need to refine your looks. Some people manage to turn their dark skin to Michael's pale complexion he had for the latter years of his life due to vitiligo and skin bleaching. Yeah, MJ denied he bleached his skin, but in actuality, he had been doing it for over 20 years. Anyhow, Mr. Valentino, he has a voice like MJ. He talks the way MJ would have talked, and it's not an act at all. He's genuine. He's got a lot of Facebook friends, fans, and people have YouTube channels dedicated to him. I went through the ranks of tribute artists, and I always found seems a better one every time. But now, for me personally, I found over the last few years the best one, and that's Ernest Valentino. So that's who I think they use for the Hologram. Like I said, Mr. Valentino has not he has not come forth, to me at least, and said that he was used for the Hologram, nor has he denied it. So he hasn't confirmed and he hasn't denied it. And like I said, Mr. Valentino is a true gentleman. He believes in carrying on Michael's message. He's just a good person, and I believe that he's the world's best tribute artist to MJ that we have now. Other people feel, differently, and that's fine. But I think that the best is when you watch him perform. Totally amazing. It's just and I hope that he could get more recognition, even though he is recognized, having been working with MJ since Michael Jackson's third solo album, Bad in '87. So he's well known in the public eye, and the name Ernest Valentino among tribute artists, and there's a lot of tribute artists out there. But popularity wise, there's certain other artists that have gotten more popularity and stuff, and they brag and they brag and they go on and they go on, but yet they don't realize that they probably should stop all that bragging stuff, because they make so many just common mistakes, like not bandaging your right hand. You're bandaging your left hand. MJ never bandaged his left hand. He bandaged his right hand. He never moonwalked from this side of the stage to that side of the stage. He did it maybe a few times when he was with the Jacksons in '84. I think that was probably the last time that he ever did do it, from that side of the stage going to that side of the stage. He would just do it back then. At the end of Billie Jean, he was just messing around with a little bit of freestyle, not kind of like what he did like on the History tour, or the Dangerous tour. Like back then it was just a little bit of a quick freestyle. So he would do his moonwalk normally from this side to that side, and then at one point he did it from that to there. But I believe the Victory tour was the last time we ever seen him do it from that side of the stage going, or that side of the stage going to this side of the stage. I'd never seen, because we see him from Wembley in '88, July 16th, '88, and he does it, that going from this side of the stage to that side of the stage. So that's my interpretation of the Hologram and who was used. And if you, like I said, the key times. Let's go back to my notes here. The performance starts at 59 seconds. That's when the performance starts. And then I make the reference to those times in the Dirty Diana videos. 2 minutes and 26 seconds into the Hologram. I believe it's "And She Danced Through the Night." Dude, he does that head snap right there. It's at 2 minutes 26 seconds. There's that certain head snap that MJ would do a lot, mostly in Billie Jean. and he did it a lot in Jam when he sing it live. Uh, in my opinion, only Mr. Valentino could copy that so well and make it seem like it was MJ doing it. Uh, so yeah, and in 246, he's doing that circle stepping thing. Uh, like I said, he did that on the Jackson's Victory Tour as well. So there's if you watch Michael's videos, short films, I guess you could call them, or his live performances, like with the Jackson Tour, the Victory Tour in '84, or if you watch Mr. Valentino's performances, you'll see a lot of similarities. But everything that people say that was in the hologram that MJ never would have done, I just discredited pretty much all the people who've criticized what the tribute artist done in the hologram. Yes, at one point, Mr. The tribute artist, who I'm saying is Mr. Valentino, goes up on his two toes and points. But like I said, MJ himself does that 3 times in the Dirty Diana video. He practically, the first time he only points with one hand. The second time, he kind of is up on his toes, but he points with both. But it's the third time, and like I said, the times in the Dirty Diana video are, I'll read them again. 1 minute and 59 seconds, 4 minutes and 3 seconds, and 4 minutes and 22 seconds. So that's my interpretation of the Michael Jackson hologram. I hope that nobody takes this video down. I mean, it's just my breakdown. Like I said, Mr. Valentino has not confirmed that he was part of that hologram, that he played a role in it, nor has he denied it. He's just been just a wonderful person to correspond with, and I think it's a shame that he doesn't get the recognition that other tribute artists get. I mean, he does get a lot of recognition. Fans, people, it's crazy. You can see him signing autographs for people. Like, he's on YouTube, just videos. He's been doing this for, over 25 years easily. As an MJ tribute artist, impersonator. So, leave your comments below if you like. Tell me what you think. Yeah, any feedback is good or positive. This is just my interpretation of the hologram and giving facts to back up what was done in the hologram. So tell me what you guys think. So thanks for watching this video. I didn't expect it to be this long, but I'm an MJ fan and I'm passionate, and I'm an earnest Valentino fan. So whenever I speak of the two coming together, it's quite a colossal thing, and we miss you, MJ, and it's people like Mr. Valentino that's here to carry on MJ's message. It's all for love. Like he said, this is a LOVE, love with love. So thanks for watching. Appreciate it.